And we are live. Welcome to JWC Livestream. JWC Livestream, where we give you a variety of content. Today's content is a bookcraft episode, JWC Bookcraft. What do we mean by bookcraft? Well, we're going to let you know right away what we mean by bookcraft. But first and foremost, we must acknowledge humanity and provide introduction. In case this is your first episode, for all we know, it could be. I'm Ricky O, otherwise known as, my author name is Richard Andrew Ulcus. And this is Tom over here. Tom, how are you?
I'm doing very well.
That's good to know.
Got my 1,800 words in today, and we're good.
That's great. What were you working on, Tom?
New short story, Terror at Lake Champlain.
Cool.
Very cool. Penkrum adventure.
I was just going to ask, is that a Penkrum story? Fantastic, man. Any other projects you're working on? How's The Bride going?
I didn't catch that. What was that?
Any other things you're working on? How's The Bride going?
No, you're not coming through.
Yeah, we're having.
Oh, here we go.
Sorry, folks. We're having some kind of delay here.
That's
what
better.
Other
you were like,
what other projects are you working on, Tom? You working on The Bride lately, or?
Yeah, in bits and pieces. I started reading a new book about the European history of the 19th century, just to give me some background I could play with, where places she could show up to influence them or observe or get caught up in a war or whatever, right? And
yeah, hopefully.
So also working diligently on listening to my Blood on the Sand book. I want to finish listening to that so I can correct as I go. And then I'm going to print the entire thing up and read it through and correct it. And then I should be ready for an agent. Knock wood.
And that, of course, is your Florida novel that
right.
You're pretty much done with. Wonderful. I've been working on Compass City, which is a role-playing setting book. Hitting other things too. Working on a lot of outlines. Nidhogg 2, maybe. Was doing some Pyramidia. Working on this thing called Dearth's Valley. Which is I'm trying to write in the same mode as Babbletron, but with vampires. There's vampires from space thing, Tom. You've really done it to me. I have to do that now in some way, shape, or form, you know? So that's it, folks. That's Creative Obsession. We have multiple irons in the fire, multiple projects going. Not enough time in the day to do it all. But what do we do once we've moved through the creativity, and now we have tens of thousands, maybe even 100,000 words? Well, we turn to bookcraft. Bookcraft is critical. You have to start thinking in the terms of the industry. And therefore, you have to fulfill all those things. You have to design your book. You design the inside. If you're a pantser, you just write as it flows. If you're a plotter, design all the chapters, word budget it all out. But once you have the inside fully designed and written, and it's ready to go, then it must become a book. Even if it's an ebook, there's things you have to consider. You have to design a cover or get one designed. And you have to work on the blurb. And that word blurb, ooh, the dread that word brings to mind for most writers. There's a huge line of people ready to complain or despair, depending on how it is, about blurbs. They're not self-apparent. They're not simple to write.
No.
And today's no, I'm sure you agree, Tom. So today's episode is going to be covering book blurbs, to the best of our ability. Anyway.
Yeah, I have a word. I say a word.
Absolutely.
Before the advent of self-publishing, the publisher used to take care of the back of the book, and used to take care of descriptions and covers and everything else. Once you handed the book over to the publisher in the old days, all that was out of your hands. Now, all that's on us, the creators, which is an added. Not only do we have to write the book, we have to find a way to make a cover. We have to write a book blurb. We have to do, synopsises have always been written. Those have been hundreds of years. People are writing synopsises for their books to get published. But the book blurb has become a new art form. I find videos all the time on YouTube on how to write a good book blurb, and there's some, you got to soak up the knowledge where you can find it. And so I've written
absolutely
several dozen of them over the past, say, year, and it's tricky. It never gets easy, the book blurb. Even if you write a Dr. Seuss book, it's not it's not an easy task, because you not only have to write, you're not giving them a blow-by-blow description of what happened. You have to give them what the equivalent of, say, a movie trailer. Give them some highlights, give them a character, give them a situation, throw them off a cliff, and then just say, will he make it to the bottom alive? And basically and you have about 150, 175 words to do that. And
yeah, absolutely. That's the formula I've been using. Keep it short, because when I talk to my cover artist, he has to move the words around. He has to shift the typeset in order to fit certain things in, like the UPC on the back, and everything has to have a certain symmetry and a certain graphic presentation, which
right.
Him being a professional is good. So you can't make your blurb huge, and it's not a good service for it to be huge. The person walking by the shelf in the bookstore, if they're at Barnes and Noble, if they go old-fashioned brick and mortar shopping, they're going to pick the book up and they're going to read the back. They want to read it quickly.
Right.
They're coming to look for you. They already know what you are. So you see what I'm saying? It's like, it's more for that. So
yeah. So you have your two major weapons to get a sale are your book cover and your back of the book blurb. Oftentimes when I buy a book, I look at the cover and say, "Ooh, Martians invading again," and I'll read the back, and if it's intriguing enough, I'm done. I'm good. Some people read like a chapter, which is your third major, plank, let's call it, in your sale. And if you've got about 5 minutes when they start reading from page 1 before they put it back on the shelf or put it, under their arm, so to, carry it and say, I'm getting this one.
That's right.
So,
yeah. So, but with that industry, with that concept in mind, that's how I compose mine. So I think what we're gonna do is I'm gonna read two blurbs. I have a book called. Go ahead, Tom.
Have you got that formula handy? I might have it.
Yeah, you might have it in that document. If you do, you could feel free to present the word budget, because I feel, well, look, let me not tell you. Let me show you. Let's see if you come to this determination on your own. I'm going to read off the back of the paperback of Babbletron. It's a novella. You go to Amazon and pick it up if you're interested in dystopian cyberpunk. Tom can vouchsafe for its authenticity, being that he was a reader. So I'll read the blurb. It's Babbletron After the Fire. A vast, sprawling industrial wilderness has spread across the world, crawling with post-humans, genetic travesties, and a haunted infrastructure of self-evolving AI capable of almost anything. A mysterious cyborg called Big Daddy loses his old world through a series of misfortunes and gains another. He must travel from place to place, facing odds which would consume other street nights in a gloom of despair. He struggles against the depravities that have overrun the land, using only his bravery and fighting prowess, finding within the war a romantic attachment that his cold heart could never have imagined. This is the world of Babbletron, where survival is hard won, but extinction's threat pushes a cybernetic humanity into a place beyond hopelessness. The nightmares of mankind's devolution will give way to a dream, an unveiled phoenix rising from toxic ashes, rejoicing to fly above into a new and glorious horizon. So that's from a couple years ago. Little chewy, little wordy, but I don't know if it's clunky. It's a legitimate expression of what's going on in there.
I think
I
so.
don't know. Yeah, I mean, being that you read the book, you can see, because that's the key behind these, my fellow creatives in the audience, or adaptives in this particular case. That's the key. The key is that you convey a sense of the voice, the genre, the stuff, like the setting, the main character is dropped. Those are selling points. People in an instant gratification based world, people want to know like right away. Like they have no time. They're working hard. They're working long hours. They like reading. They're just trying to pick something cool. It's got to be evident right away. So this is the next one I'm going to read to you is Nidhogg Chronicles. All right. Which is a paranormal fiction book that I wrote. Real crazy, real freaky. Other than paranormal fiction and with emphasis on ufology, I don't know how to describe it. It's pretty wild. So I'll start from the top, and this is the back cover. Terrestrial existence is filled with mysteries. Ufology, alien abduction phenomena, cryptid encounters, lost civilizations, and hyperdimensional entities invading our universe from a chilling elsewhere beyond imagining. Enter Nidhogg, a Phase 5, Stage 6 hybrid belonging to a selective breeding program whose goal is to perfect human-like host bodies by way of controlled mutation. These genetically modified hosts are intended to convey the collective's awesome telepresence. The collective, a group of big-brained telepaths who dwell somewhere in the center of the earth. They cannot dwell alone. They cannot dwell above without dire consequences to their well-being. Nidhogg belongs to a valued bloodline regarding this slow process, but she hates her involvement and resists the collective with every fiber of her being. She has been scorned, persecuted, and abused by those above and below, and belongs fully to neither world. Nidhogg's life takes a turn for the worse as she mismanages someone significant from her past. This sets off a chain of events that sees her dreams shattered, her will tested, and the very nature of existence questioned. Will she rise to the challenge, or must she fall into programmed termination and personal annihilation like so many other failed hybrids? So, I mean, I know you haven't read this one, but it unpacks it. Like the first thing if Tom has that word budget, we're gonna show you that in a minute. And this is probably gonna help you. If you think those two sounded cool, and if you think they touch the industrial points, they press the buttons, then you're going to want to stay tuned. The first little section I read just gives an idea about setting. The second section talks about the main character and her angst and what promises to be a conflict for her. And then, you know, you have the final paragraph, which is where the world building and the character creation meet. Her life takes a turn for the worst, etc. Will she rise to the challenge? I like ending these with a question or questions, because that hypothetical question can, especially if you have a reader who's a creative or who's really into this stuff, what that does is that makes them ask the question. And if they want that question answered, they're probably going to buy your book. Because the setting, the main character, and then we have this question of, what do you think of those and where is it going? So those were my blurbs for Babbletron, After the Fire, and for Nidhogg Chronicles, Crusade of Shadows. 2 books that were very satisfying to write and very satisfying to hold in my hand, but you can't get to there until you deal with these issues of bookcraft. You're either going to pay someone to write it for you or you're going to try to do it yourself. Now, we're going to move on to the next phase of this. Tom, how about you? Could you share your screen and show us what you got as far as these your blurbs for your book, and tell us a little bit about the books, you know?
Here's the this is the formula that you've came up with, which is very, very good. 150 word blurb, 25 word intro setting, 60 words into the introduce main character, then 50 words you do a narrative prompt. That's pretty loose numbers, but that's pretty much all you would need.
And that is the formula that I used to write those 2 blurbs. It's what I call a word budget. That's how I wrote them. You write within that discipline, within that budget, because it's a typeset, folks. You only have so much room to play. I'm Mr. Flowers. I write big, voluminous descriptions, and it goes on and on. But you don't have that here. This is a very limited space. It's like you're writing an article in a newspaper. So you must embrace technical writing because of that constraint. So you see the formula there. Tom, why don't you read us some of your blurbs?
Okay. I'll start off with my, right below here, I have my Florida novel called Blood on the Sand. And took five Memorial Day holidays weeks to finish the book. So without any spoilers, let me run into it here. All right. The East Coast of Florida has it all: beaches, restaurants, palm trees, and a serial killer no one has seen for 40 years. Something comes out of the ocean during a new moon, striking so random that no one realizes they are all connected. Author Jake Connolly inherits a beachfront condo from his uncle in Hollywood, Florida. One night during a thunderstorm, Jake sees someone snatched off the beach by a dark shape. Despite an intense phobia for thunderstorms, he ventures outside to help, but is too late. After finding a finger at the disappearance scene, Jake investigates other disappearances. In Agate City, he meets Elaine, a volunteer librarian. With the help of Elaine, they find over 100 people have vanished in 40 years, from Jupiter down to Miami Beach. Jake and Elaine are drawn together as they try to track down the killer. Will they be able to find the creature before it strikes again?
That's nice.
So there we have a little intro about how wonderful Florida is, with a zinger at the end. And then a main character intro that he's scared of storms, but he moves to Florida anyway. And then a little bit about there's a whole big thing going on with 125 people have disappeared, and it's just happened again. So whatever it is still out there. So
very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. So next one up is my first Verema novels, starring Shirella, a character Rich knows pretty well. It's called Of Thieves, Dragons, and O'Hara. Max O'Hara loves to discover new places. One night, he falls into a world waiting for his arrival for 100 generations. O'Hara has come to Verema, bereft of his former memories. He has inherited a god shard, a gem powered by one of the world's goddesses. This has been foretold in an ancient book of historical prophecies. O'Hara has triggered a series of events that will either unite Verema or destroy it. His mentor is Shirella, champion of Valtor and owner of another god shard. During a visit to the capital city of Kelsh, O'Hara and Shirella prevent the assassination of a visiting prince. The prince asks them to protect him on his trip home. Along with friends Corlan, Calliope, Sertafin, Freiber, Doc Oric, and Jaizal, they travel to the Black Ice Kingdom. Here they uncover a plan by Mordain to start the final war of the Kyloris prophecies. So
now that's tasty too, because anybody that digs high fantasy is going to want to know all that stuff. The names are musical, and now we have this proposition at the end that they have this great villain that's trying to do something disastrous that will lead to some sort of either the end of the world or some kind of place where the world that is not worth living in. That sounds great, Tom. Both of those sound tasty. I would give that book a deeper glance, because that's the key, folks, is to get them to turn and look. If they have more time, then if they're not gonna buy it, they'll open it. If you give them some intrigue, they'll open it, and then maybe they'll read part of the first chapter. So that's a big deal. That's what you're trying to do with all this.
right. The next set, I have a book that I started writing in April of 2020. In 10 months, I did 177,000 words.
Right on.
About a very, very interesting character, Emily Breck. This became the curious journey of Emily Breck.
A great read. A great read, folks. I can vouchsafe for it.
So it's I've been writing blurbs on her, and they've been getting a little bit better. So the first one is whatever is trying to kill Emily makes her stronger. Dying is easy once you get the hang of it. Despite everything Emily Breck tries, sooner or later, something unexpected kills her. Not to worry, though. With each life, Emily gets a little smarter, a better job, and her hair gets darker. Each new life brings a new town for her to make a life in. She makes friends fast and has no thoughts of dying until it happens. The signs pop up one by one, signaling the time has come for her to die once more. Every life begins well, but eventually Emily gets caught up in a storm of smooth black stones. They fall in a circle around her, and it foretells her death in a few days. She cannot avoid dying, but in time comes to accept it. For in time, Emily knows she will discover why she keeps dying, and will find out how to stop it. Now, that one wasn't bad. I wasn't 100% satisfied with, but I felt there was stuff there, little bits that I like. So the second one gets a little more refined.
Sure.
Emily Breck has nothing to live for, and then she falls to her death. A moment later, she wakes up on her bed. She's the same Emily, yet better. Her bleach blonde hair now has some red in it, and her addictions are gone. And she knows she needs to get away from her before her pimp finds her. Her journey will take her ever southward, dying along the way several times. She gets smarter with each rebirth, and her hair continues to darken. Emily must find out who is killing her and why before she runs out of lives. Her journey will take her ever southward. She gets smarter with each rebirth. Her hair continues to darken. Emily must find out who is killing her and why before she runs out of lives. Now, there's a little redundancy there, but that's getting a little closer to.
Yeah, I mean, if at first you don't succeed, try again. And that's the point. You keep going, and you may have to keep going over and over. Like, You want to optimize with it. I mean, you don't have to get crazy obsessed with it, but you want to optimize. You want it to be the best it can be.
Right.
So, you have another one of
Yeah. A few
those?
months later, we have Emily Breck has nothing to live for. Drugs, booze, and selling her body have taken their toll, and then she falls to her death. A moment later, she wakes up on her bed. She's the same Emily, yet better. Her bleach blonde hair has some red in it, and her addictions are gone. And I think this is got the same. Well, anyway, that's kind of repeat. The fourth one is I'm the most impressed with so far. Anyway,
Let's hear
dying is
it.
easy once you get the hang of it. Beyond the comforts of home, the world is a place where death awaits around every corner. Going outside will open a door not so easily closed. Despite everything 27-year-old Emily Breck tries, sooner or later, something unexpected kills her. Not to worry though, with each life, Emily gets smarter and her jobs get better. She makes friends fast and has no thoughts of dying until it happens. The signs pop up one by one, signaling the time she has come for her to die once more. Her journey takes her ever southward. Every life along the way begins well, but eventually Emily gets caught in a storm of smooth black stones. They foretell her death in a few days. She cannot avoid dying, but in time comes to accept it. Will Emily discover why she keeps dying, and will she be able to find out how to stop it? So that one so far the most satisfied with. It's intriguing enough, gives you some breadcrumbs. Without
That's
really,
right.
there's a lot of spoilers in this book that I don't want to step on. That I don't want to kick up. And
Yeah, and that's the thing about a blurb. The writing of a blurb should not in any way approach spoiling anything. You have to be a little bit like, you have to tell them about things from the outside. You don't want to put so much detail that you're spoiling anything. You want to give someone a quick description. It's like the equivalent of an elevator pitch. You want to be able to say, hey, it's like this, but it's sort of its own thing, trying to do that. Like, that's why conveying these ideas is not easy. It's not. It requires a separate talent and a separate level of technical writing and almost like commercialism, because that sells the book. Or it used to be a big deal. Now it's book trailers, but I'm a believer in a book. I want a book. Ebooks are cool, audiobooks are awesome. I read all those things. But a book itself, this is a good platform. This is a good thing to focus on. And that blurb's a big deal, therefore, because it's what they're going to see when they make contact. So that sounds great, Tom. Do you have any others of those?
Let's take a look.
If not, that's fine, because you've read plenty already. And you'll notice, folks, he gave you an evolution of his blurbs. If you want to go back and take a look, he ranked them in order, and each one got a little bit better as he was going with it. So that's the key. The key is to make progress, to write different versions, and do your research. Best research is to pick up a book on the shelf somewhere and read the blurb. See what about that blurb is successful. Correlate it. When you go online, check out some YouTube videos where the people are like, this is how you write a blurb, folks. The way we're doing almost.
Yep.
Strange, isn't it? It's almost like art imitates life or something.
Sure.
So Tom, we're
I
good?
have a friend. His name is Rob. He used to work in the publishing industry. He used to that was his job, to compose book blurbs. He said he would go home and tear his hair out because it just couldn't get it to sound right. And they would give him 2 weeks to come up with a blurb for a book. For some big authors, I won't say who, because
let's not betray anything here. Certainly not. It's nice enough to hear the story,
Yep. One that was fascinating was Cal Ripken Sr. wrote a book about his leadership and quotes and his et cetera, team building quotes. And Rob read it, and it was he just thought it was the same old boring stuff. He said no one's going to want to read this. So they said, yeah, we know that, but you got to come up with this fantastic blurb that'll get people to buy the book sight unseen, because then it's too late.
That's the key. Yeah,
yep.
That's the key.
So he did it. He felt not bad about it, but he felt that this is he felt like this is kind of like promising people vanilla ice cream and the box is full of chocolate, and so he did this, sweated it, and he got this whole beautiful blurb, and they showed it to Cal Senior, and he says, nah, I'll write it myself. And the book, apparently, I don't know how the book did, but the blurb he wrote they said was not up to snuff, but it is what it is.
It should be for the author to write it, but not every author's got that. And sometimes you have talent from people who are blurbers, who are just, I blurb day and night and I know how to blurb. That's it. Professional blurbers should eventually acclimate, but I could see a level of professional stress if you're writing for the big guns, for some popular author. There's a lot writing on that. So that makes it professionally stressful. But when it's your own and you know it, you read it, you wrote it, first of all, you edited, partially edited it at least, and you've read it, you've heard it either on a PDF reader or you've read through the whole manuscripts, like, because that's what I do.
Dozens of times.
Yeah, exactly. And I pretend that I never wrote it. Like, I wait months and months and months, and then I do a special read where I don't even know where, like, I pretend like I picked it up and I'm like, oh, what's this? And then I go through the whole thing. So you'd figure after all that, you'd be able to put your finger on the button and write one, but it's like we've been saying obsessively since the show started, it's no easy task.
No.
So, but check out our little details here, especially that word budget, folks, if you're interested and if you're at that level, because you could probably hire someone to write it for you. But if you could save, because you're going to have to, I mean, they're probably not going to read the whole book.
Yeah.
So you're still going to have to give them some kind of outline of details. So if you're outlining it and trying to figure it all out, you might as well try to take a crack at it yourself. And even if you give them your like, say you write a blurb and you're like, this is hot garbage, I can't use this. If you give them that and the outline of details from which it was derived, then maybe they can zero in, because they're going to have a reference. Even if it's some kind of AI software, it will require prompts. It's there, like, there's no telepathic transference where they know what to do. Like, you're still going to have to explain it.
Right.
And probably go through edits and, more of this. So, but I like what we've been over today. None of them are perfect, including my own that are already on books. but the ones that, like, what they do, to me, that's what a blurb should do. I'm no expert. Far from it. I'm not a professional, but I am a creative obsessor, and I love bookcraft. I love making books, holding books. It's a wonderful, satisfying feeling, very rewarding to do. In order to do that, you got to have a blurb. Can't go without one. So it's worth your consideration, even if it's nothing but a headache in your mind.
Sure.
It's worth your consideration. So
now, what everybody recommends, the people who have been published often, is whatever your genre is. Let's say it's high fantasy. Go to a bookstore, Barnes and Noble. Go to the high fantasy section and just start reading the back of the books. And
absolutely,
that's the only way to get an idea of what they want. And you'll eventually pick up. The beginning is a splash, and the middle is about introducing at least one main character, and then the end is a situation, and that's kind of basically what I told you is the blurb. But Some of them are masters at it. Robert Silverberg is a master at his blurb. So is Stephen King. Um, you know, I mean, you've written 12 million words like Stephen King has. Maybe that could be piece of cake. Although I've heard some authors, big time authors, agonize over their blurb. It takes as long, you know, sometimes some people, once a person claimed there's one author I won't mention, takes as long to write his blurbs as it took to write the manuscript. Because they agonize over every word.
Yeah, which is that's because they wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote and rewrote, and they were just sermonizing over it, chopping the horse in half. Never mind beating it to death. But sometimes that's what it takes. You gotta. My old man always said, "Put your nose to the grindstone," and if it gets down to something that's obsession, like creative obsession, like this, you got to get it right. So it's like Tom says, folks, go to the store, analyze those details, buy the book. If you see a blurb, you're like, wow, that's awesome. Buy it, dissect it, do a word budget analysis. Each paragraph, how many words is that? How many words is that? An overall budget, so you know how much you're going to fit on there. That's how I came up with the formula for the blurb, which to me, it makes it pretty easy. But not everybody's got it, and not everybody should get it. There's things I don't do. There's things I don't do well. So you do your best, right?
Yep.
Yeah, very good.
There was a blurb form that I recently ran across that I'm going to try. I've done one, maybe some other Thursday, Tuesday, I could share it. It's grab an exciting scene from 150, 160 word scene from your manuscript and put it on the back. And
you could do that too. I've seen it.
I really like that. I did that with Blood on the Sand. I extracted the scene where Jake looks out the window and sees the Mr. Jenkins get swallowed up by the darkness, and he's talking to his therapist. And Jake, she says, "What are you doing, Jake?" She goes, "Oh, this guy just got swallowed up. Something happened out there. Look, then all the chairs I knocked over, the beach chairs I knocked over. She goes, I got to do something." She goes, and then she says, "Don't do anything stupid." And the last part of the blurb is, "It's already too late for that," as he opens the door and runs outside. And I said, that could work.
See, that has the spirit of adventure dripping all over it, because now you're following him into his folly. She says, "Don't do anything stupid." And now do you have sympathy for him? Are you curious? Do you want to go out? And because he just saw something, the darkness swallowed this guy up, and he's like, "I got to go see what it is." It's like, no, maybe I don't. But if you're an adventurer, maybe you do, especially living vicariously through his mania, where you don't have to get wet or bloody or die or anything. All you have to do is find out what happens. And
that last line is a kicker. Too late for that. If she said, "Jake, don't do anything stupid," if I ended the blurb with, "Okay," and he sat down and waited, "I'll wait till morning," that would killed the blurb.
Certainly. Certainly. Well, folks, I mean, I don't know. That sounds pretty good to me. Gave you a bunch of variety there. What do you think, Tom?
I think we did pretty good. We touched on a lot of things, and the advice: go read blurbs. Yeah, don't just read your genre. Go through the store and pick out books at random. Pick a title. Ooh, that sounds really interesting, and read mysteries. Go cut through romance. Go to etc. And read the back. You'd be very surprised that something not in your genre could really trigger a good idea for a blurb or a good formatting.
That's laser guided, Tom. That's exactly it. You want to write something, read what you want to write. Go read. If you're writing a blurb, go read lots of blurbs, especially genres that pertain to what you're trying to do. But what Tom said is wise. Read all kinds of blurbs. Find out what the tricks are. Blurbers must have scams like everyone else. A trick that just always works.
Hmm.
You know, there's nothing wrong with borrowing. Everyone borrows, especially for a commercial thing. You know, like, yeah, it's creative because it's trying to get your muse out there, but the essence of it is a commercial thing. You're trying to sell this. That's why it's there.
Right.
So keep that focus.
Now, what I thought was interesting is to read the back of books before there you had to write your own blurbs. The classics, The Gone with the Wind, of Mice and Men, those are great blurbs. I mean,
Yes,
they go from book to book to book in each edition, whatever. That's when you had professionals writing these things. Those are great blurbs to write, no matter the genre. Go to the, say, let's go back 25 years or older. A book
yeah,
was done by a professional at a
yeah,
publishing house, and
absolutely.
they had to know what they were doing, and they had to be tight with their words, right?
Yep,
And
that's right.
so that one you got to do that. In addition to writing your reading the back of blurbs for your, say, your sci-fi novel, stray over to the classic section and peruse a few of those, and
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, folks, time flies when you're having fun, as always. And we're at the end as far as all this is concerned. It's been very satisfying to bring this content to you. Bookcraft's a little bit of a nervous thing because who claims the authority to know how to do all this stuff? Those who know how to do it. You have to decide for yourself if the book is like the blurb is cool and commercially exciting, where you're like, oh, I want to check that out. It's everybody's got their own tastes. But Tom, why don't you hit us up with your books, man? Let's do some plugs.
I've got a couple short story collections on Amazon Kindle. First one is Dwellers in the Shadows. Spooky little creepy stories. More on the spooky side than then the second one. The second one is called "Is It Still Out There?" That one deals with critters, creepy little critters that will get you in the end. Especially the title story, "Is It Still Out There?" It was based on a reminiscence or a memory from when I was about 10 years old. We saw a fireball in the sky, and I just one night before school week before school started, I just ran with that and made a little tense. I thought a tense little story that was fun to revisit my 10-year-old self. So
yeah, I mean, maybe you want to go visit that too. Tom's master of the shorts, man. So go out and try his books. We'll try to drop the link after the show. I read a blurb for Babbletron, After the Fire, dystopian cyberpunk. I also read one for Nidhogg Chronicles, Crusade of Shadows. That is a paranormal fiction centered around ufology and paranormal phenomenology of all sorts. Both of those are on Amazon. Type in Richard Andrew Ulkus. Check it out. I would appreciate your support. Also, go to joeswritersclub.com. Check out our bios and our blogs. Sign up at joeswriters.club, our forums. Check us out on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And most importantly, head over to YouTube and like and subscribe. Give us some views. Share it with your friends. If you have any friends who are creative, someone who's always tinkering with a story or on the verge of getting a book done. We're looking to inspire people. That's why we do what we do. Inspiration is the highest coin of the realm, and we want to spread it. If we could write blurbs, should make it a little more, you should be a little more confident. I think you could write blurbs too. That's the key. Don't think it's this impossible thing. The way you read it on the internet is like, when I say impossible, I mean impossible. People act like they just can't do it. We're moving through that because the more blurbs you write, the better you get at writing blurbs. Even if even if you still have doubts, it's like write a bunch of them like Tom did. You heard how each one got better. You could do that too. I want to thank Tom for doing the show with me, being co-host. This was JWC Bookcraft, and we'll see you guys hopefully next week. Take care. Tom, it was a pleasure, man. Take care.
Uh-oh.